Well, I think that's really, really important in any defense nowadays with the way people like to run spread offenses and fast-paced offenses, and a lot of them do that to try to negate a good defensive line. They try to tire them out. They try to get them running from sideline to sideline, and then they try to make them down to their level or average by being tired. And nowadays these D linemen are bigger than they used to be, and they're carrying a lot of weight, and so to have guys to rotate is really, really key for us. And you saw that last year. We were a better defensive team when we had rotations. When we got hit with some injuries, it brought us down to, not the ability to rotate.
Why do you see defensive linemen rotate and not offensive linemen?
Well, one, offensive linemen don't run to the football sideline to sideline. I mean, ours do, good ones do, but there's a lot of people that, if you watch a defensive line, every play, whether it's a pass all the way downfield or whether it's a sweep wide, you expect your defensive line to be running as hard and fast as they can to get there. And offensive guys behind the ball sometimes, and so it doesn't really matter to get down there that close.
Greg, you found 8 that have earned the right to be in that 8-man rotation at this point?
Yeah, I think we have 8 for sure, and there are more and more guys that are coming on, and you might get, I would never rotate probably 9 or 10 guys, but you always want the ability that if something does happen, that another guy can come in and be one of those 8. So that's what we're working for, and working for the ability to have a true rotation of guys.
You really haven't had a full, true 8 here, have you yet?
I think last year during the middle we were there, and then when Ryan got injured and Mario got injured, and that brought us down under that.
Who starts on? Who will you put out on the staff to start on Saturday?
I really try to tell them that we have 2 starting lineups, and who goes out there for the very first play. We still have a couple days to decide that. But Chris Wormley's had a very, very good camp. Glasgow's had a really good camp. Monet has really done well. Matt Godin's doing very well. Taco. The whole group. I don't want to single out one guy, because as we watch the film, there's an expectation, and to be in that first unit that takes the field very first, or who's in there the 3rd or 4th play, they all have to do the same thing. So, I've been pleased with the effort and the work of all of them.
Greg, everyone's going to be watching for Rashawn and just kind of see what he does. Is it something where you try the first game, you try to bring him along slowly, or is that not really?
No, the first game's the first game. That just means this one really, really counts. And we try to make our practices look that way too. And he's done a very good job, as I said, as all of our guys have, that whatever unit is in there, you're judged by a first unit standard. And Rashawn has worked very, very hard and has done some very good things. So, whenever the opportunity, whenever we decide, however our rotation is, I'm sure you'll see him in there.
Wormley obviously got voted in as a captain. Can you talk about what you see in him that makes that a natural?
Well, how many guys do you ever have that stay their 5th year? He's well over a 3-point grade point average. His character is impeccable. He gives you everything he has on the field. You got a guy that's 6'6", 300-some pounds, and runs like a linebacker, and is very, very good with the younger kids. That's what football does to me, is when you have a young man like Chris Wormley and you have a guy like Grumfor or Rashawn Gary or Ron Johnson, and he's there to mentor them like he was mentored. And I could talk for hours about Chris. He's just one of those guys you love. That's why you coach, really, when you get a chance to have a Chris Wormley. And I can say the same thing about Ryan, Brian, Taco. You know, that group of kids is a special group.
Greg, obviously you were here, you guys had the great 2011 season, and in 2012 it didn't meet the same expectations. Is there something to take from that to try to, in this time?
No, I always look at it as Michigan expectations. You know, maybe that group met Michigan expectations, and I think that, and we talk about it a lot, that if you're a defensive lineman at the University of Michigan, average doesn't work, you know, and sometimes good doesn't work. You know, you've got to play up to your ability. And a lot of people, it doesn't matter what they say, but a lot of people say that this is a very talented group. Okay, if that's the case, then we should see that every Saturday. And we should see that in practice, which we have, you know, where practice you come out and you get better every day and you work up to what is expected of you. And that's what this group has done this camp.
What have you seen from Wonfor and Johnson?
They're talented. They're talented. They're talented young kids that you see. You know, one thing that separates young kids, young players from veterans is consistency. You know, where it's really, you can go out there and you can make a play and you go, boy, that was a really good play. And then the next play you go, what was that? You know, and I think it's putting good plays back to back to back. That's what separates guys who are ready to play. And that's why we talk all the time about it in our practices, that you know, when we grade our practices, I mean, defensive line grades every practice, and they get their grades, and you look at them and you say, okay, you know, these 5 plays were really good, and then all of a sudden we had a couple that weren't. And you want to keep that consistency, you know, and that's what happens with young kids.
Coach, you had Michael Onwenu on your line for a little bit during camp. What did you see out of him?
Love the kid. Tell you what, I mean, he came over, did, you know, Coach Harbaugh does a tremendous job of trying to make sure that guys get the opportunity to play wherever it is, offense or defense. And at that point, we wanted to look at him on defense. He came over and studied the playbook, studied what he was supposed to do, stayed after, and did some really good things. And then they needed him on offense. He went over to offense, and if you ask Ryan Glasgow, he said, yeah, he's one of the toughest guys I go against, you know. And I've been very pleased with him. I mean, he's going to be a really good football player, I think.
You've obviously talked about Don Brown before, but now you've been through the spring, through a fall camp. What's the mesh like there? I mean,
Great. Don's a great coach. You know, the thing, players and guys you work with, all you look for is, are they giving everything they have, and is it for the kids, and is it for the program? And he's that all the way. You know, I mean, there's not a day that he doesn't come out trying to make this team better with unbelievable enthusiasm and fire, and these kids love that. And you know, it's been great. It's been a great transition, and I really enjoy working with him.
With Chris, he's obviously a guy that can play inside and outside. Do you know how much you want him doing each?
It all depends. It all depends what our needs are. You know, again, it's about having guys fresh, or guys that you say, okay, now you go in this game, I need 5 of the best plays you could ever play, and then we'll give you a rest. And if some reason you get depleted inside where you don't have that, that's the bonus you have. Chris can always move in there and give you just that, you know. And so to have a guy that has played inside as much as he's played outside is a real bonus. You kind of add another guy, you know, rather than saying, if these guys all went down or were, you know, couldn't go anymore or something happened, who's the next guy? Well, you always have Chris. And now you've just put a really, really good one in there. You know, so that it's a rotation. The good thing too with having a veteran group of guys is they all can play every position. I could take our inside guys and put them outside, and I wouldn't worry as far as them knowing the defenses and knowing what to do. And that's the experience they have, and that's a real credit to them. Sometimes defensive linemen just learn their position, and that's all they ever learn. And that hurts them down the road when things happen, and this group has really studied it.
Rick, is this the type of group with, you mentioned 8 guys, they're all versatile, is this the type of group that you were building towards when you guys came back the first time, 6 years ago,
Yeah,
whatever it was?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you always want to build your fronts, offense and defense. You know, you really want to be really strong there in any team. And you know when you're getting ready with your team, you know 4 guys is not going to make it in this league. You know, it's not, you've got to have depth. You've got to have guys that can rotate. And our kids have worked extremely hard to get them in a position to be able to do that right now.
Long process, you got guys coming from different spots, you know, you got Ryan Glasgow was a walk-on, you got Wormley, Taco was highly recruited, guys from all over the place. Let's talk about the process of getting to this point now where you have such a deep group.
Well, I think one of the real things there is when you have a number of talented young men, the first thing people will say is, well, I don't get enough playing time. But there's a real trust in our room that you're the first starter and you're the second starter, and you're going to play as long as you earn it in practice and you earn it on the field. So, you know, there can't be any of a thing where, okay, I'm going to rotate. Hey, Mom, I'm rotating. We get ready. Watch me. And you go out there and you don't run hard to the football. I mean, the thing we talk about this, that, okay, I'm going to ask you to play 3 plays. So you're telling me you cannot go harder than you've ever gone for 3 plays? And they're all in that. They're all in it. And they look at each other and say, well, no, you know, you're watching the film. Boy, what are you saving it for? You don't have to save this for anything. Go. You know, and they don't even have to talk about it anymore. It's just expected.
I remember when you guys,
On Lawrence Marshall, can you talk about him?
Yeah, Lawrence Marshall's in that mix. Lawrence Marshall's doing a really good job. He's been here 3 years now, and I've seen him get better and better. Lawrence Marshall's right with that group.
Going back to building that depth, you know, from a historic perspective, you know, is that something you've seen happen recently where more teams are planning to do that, you know, kind of build the depth, or, you know, is that something that's been around a while? Because you've had a pretty long coaching career. And
Well, no, it's, again, it kind of goes with the philosophy of offenses nowadays, where they're going to try to wear out, your defensive line and then make you very average to what you're going against. And if you have competent, fresh legs going in there when they think you're worn out, and all of a sudden you're getting hit with a guy that might be just as good as the guy he just finished with, you've got a real advantage.
Where did you recruit Ben Gideon?
Excuse me?
Did you recruit Ben Gideon?
Yeah.
How much have you seen him kind of stretch outside his comfort zone to be calling the shots and running the defense?
Ben Gideon is a heck of a linebacker, and I would have said that same thing 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Ben Gideon probably could have started for almost any team for the last 3 years, and it's his time now. And he did the same thing when he was backing up Joe and Dez. He was this far from ever getting in there. You know, I mean, it's one small injury, he's there, and you don't even miss it. Ben is really likes this role and really has taken it. It's just like, okay, Ben, you know you're going to do it, and he did it. You know, you're going to see great things out of Ben.
Guys, 1 or 2 more questions. We have Jay Harbaugh behind you.
You have guys moving around to different positions, series to series, maybe even play to play. Is there any challenge on the field with getting guys to arrange themselves? You know, you're playing nose this series, or
No.
someone take the lead?
That's a great question, and that's what some people worry about, doing that. But these guys have heard it said to them, guys, you like doing this, right? And yeah, and you see the advantage, right? Yeah. Then don't screw it up by not communicating with your buddy. So that defensive line room takes care of each other ways that maybe a lot of people don't, where if Ryan Glasgow is running in the game and Matt Godin's next to him, he's going to say to him, I'm the nose, you're the 3, you know, and even play to play, when a defense is called, they're going to talk to each other, say, you're doing this, I'm doing that. You know, where a lot of teams don't do that, and it's because they want each of them to be successful in that play. And when you have that, then you get guys playing like you want them to.
Greg, you ever look at this group and think back to, 5 years ago, you guys were asking Mike and Van Bergen to play like 4 quarters and never come
No
off the
question.
field. You ever look at this group and think back how long it's come or how long you guys have come in, just up front?
No, I mean, that's what you're shooting for, that's what you're shooting for, and we've always done it. I think in '95, when you had Rob Renus and Josh Williams and Joaquin, and we were close to that too, then where we had guys that were, but it wasn't the thing to do to rotate them. But we had good depth, and now you have good depth, but good depth is playing, and I think that's the difference.
Do you want Onwenu on your side of the ball, or do you think he's?
That's not my decision. Don't try to get me in trouble, Angela.
Well, you said
It's not my
player.
decision.
You
The
said-
head football coach decides on all personnel matters, and I'll say it again, I love the kid.
Okay, so.
Coach, you've had the
training.
chance,
Sorry.
you've had the chance to work with many Harbaughs in your career, and I'm curious, what about Coach Harbaugh is the family, the family tree, and what distinguishes him?
Oh, it's great. I mean, I have been fortunate. I got a chance to work with Jack, and he was great. And then John, he's one of my closest friends. And then Jim, they all believe in winning, and they all know how to get there. And they won't let anything get in their way to keep the team that they're with from winning. And it's proven. It's proven for every one of them.
Who do you think they would say is the most competitive in the family?
I wouldn't have wanted to be in that family. That when you go to play a pickup basketball game, I got a feeling it got to be pretty physical.
I read a story that when meeting his wife's family during a pickup basketball game, he started chirping at the refs.
That's it. They're competitive because they want the program to be successful and do whatever it takes in the rules to do it, and that's what they do. And they've all been that way. They're all that way, and they're
Even this one over here?
Huh?
Even this one over
Yeah,
here?
yeah. I don't get to do much with him though, but I know when we go against the tight ends, it's competitive. It's the way it is.